HOA Karen thought she could bully me, but she had no idea who owned everything. Watch what happens when power meets the law. I moved into the quiet suburban neighborhood with a sense of relief I hadn't felt in years. After living in cramped apartments and dealing with noisy streets, finally owning my own house felt like a dream. The white picket fences, the neatly trimmed lawns, and rows of identical yet charming homes gave the area a picture-perfect vibe. Almost too perfect to be real. But I soon learned that perfection comes at a price. The neighborhood was governed by a homeowners association, and at the helm of the so-called community peacekeeper was Karen, a woman whose reputation preceded her. HOA Karen, as neighbors whispered, was known for her obsession with rules and her flair for confrontation. The first encounter with her happened when I was merely unpacking boxes. A sharp knock on the door introduced me to her disapproving gaze. She had that piercing look, the one that could make anyone feel like they were under a microscope. "Your mailbox is not aligned correctly," she said, pointing at the small white box by the curb. "And your lawn, those weeds are unacceptable." I blinked. There were no weeds. I had spent hours ensuring every blade of grass was in place. But apparently, perfection was never enough. I smiled politely, nodded, and assured her I would correct the mailbox. Little did I know, this was just the beginning. Over the next few weeks, Karen escalated her scrutiny. Minor infractions, real or imagined, began piling up. A slightly crooked garden gnome became evidence of negligence. A mismatched flower pot was apparently a violation of community aesthetics. I tried reasoning, sending polite emails and attending meetings, but she always found a new reason to criticize. It was exhausting, but I stayed calm, believing the law was on my side. The tension peaked one Saturday morning when I decided to host a small gathering with a few neighbors. The aroma of barbecue filled the air, laughter echoed through the street, and for a moment, it felt like a true community. That was until Karen arrived, storming up the driveway with an expression that could curdle milk. "You have no right to host this gathering without HOA approval," she shouted. I remained calm. "Karen, this is a private event on my property. I've checked the rules, and there's nothing here that violates them." Her face flushed red, and in a huff, she stormed away, but not before muttering something about calling the authorities. 2 days later, I heard the knock on my door that would change everything. Police officers stood there, official badges gleaming. Karen had called them, claiming a violation of community rules. The absurdity of it stunned me. I showed the officers the legal documents proving my ownership, my compliance with all regulations, and my right to host gatherings. They listened patiently, but the tension was palpable. Karen, standing behind them, sputtered with rage. "You have no authority," she yelled. The officers glanced at her, then back at me and left, shaking their heads. The neighborhood had witnessed the spectacle, and murmurs of support and shock filled the air. What Karen didn't know was that her attempts to intimidate me had consequences. I began investigating, reviewing HOA records, attending meetings, and quietly gathering evidence. It became clear that she had been overstepping her authority for years, making arbitrary fines and trying to control homeowners with fear. The more I dug, the more patterns emerged: unlawful fines, threats, and even attempts to seize property under dubious claims. I knew I had to act carefully. Months passed, and the tension between us simmered. I filed formal complaints, met with lawyers, and kept meticulous records of every interaction. Karen tried to counteract, sending more threatening notices, but my preparation and calm demeanor only grew stronger. Neighbors who had once feared her began confiding in me, sharing their own stories of intimidation. Together, we formed a quiet network of support. The ultimate showdown came during an HOA meeting. The room was packed. The air was thick with anticipation. Karen strutted in, confident as ever, ready to assert her dominance. I walked in with my lawyer and a stack of evidence, documents meticulously organized, ready to expose a pattern of misconduct. The meeting started, and the usual HOA formalities unfolded. Then came the moment. I presented the evidence: unlawful fines, threats, attempt to seize property, and explained calmly yet firmly how her actions violated not just HOA rules but the law. The room went silent. Karen's expression shifted from confidence to shock. Murmurs spread among the attendees. Even the most skeptical neighbors could not ignore the weight of the evidence. Police reports, legal documents, witness statements all confirmed the story I was telling. Karen tried to argue, to twist the facts, but every attempt crumbled under scrutiny. Finally, the HOA board had no choice. They voted to remove her from her position and implement new checks and balances to prevent future abuses. Karen left the room, defeated and humiliated. The neighborhood exhaled collectively, relief washing over everyone. I had stood my ground, not out of anger, but out of principle. Justice had been served. Life slowly returned to normal. But the experience left a lasting impact. I knew the importance of understanding one's rights, staying calm under pressure, and gathering evidence before confronting injustice. The neighborhood, once ruled by fear and arbitrary authority, was now a place of fairness and mutual respect. My relationship with the neighbors strengthened. We shared stories, supported each other, and rebuilt the sense of community that had been overshadowed by Karen's tyranny. In the end, it was more than just a legal victory. It was a testament to perseverance, courage, and standing up for what is right. The lesson was clear. Power should be checked, rules should be fair, and no one should let intimidation dictate their life. And as I looked out over my garden, perfectly aligned mailbox and all, I felt a quiet pride. This was not just my house anymore. It was a symbol of resilience, justice, and a community I helped protect.